So we have one of the most important tech entrepreneurs in the country with us, Chris Pavlovsky, who is the man behind Rumble. I couldn't tell. We love Rumble. Don't we love Rumble? This entire event is streaming live exclusively on Rumble. Chris, you and I have known each other for a while. We've been through some ups and some downs, but your company's doing amazing.
Yeah, no, I think you're like one of the first investors in that pool, the first investor in Rumble. When was that, in 2021?
That was early. I was a believer before it was cool.
That's true. This is a fact. Charlie was in that group of first investors that ever invested in Rumble, so thank you for that. That means a lot to all of us and what you've done for the country by investing in a company when free speech was at that time like very taboo with the mainstream media, very taboo with all of corporate media and the corporate world in general. So we were fighting against something all by ourselves. That was post-Parler, a couple months after Parler. It was just Rumble. We were the tip of the spear in fighting for the battle for free speech. Now things have changed since then, but back then it was just us, and Charlie was an instrumental person in helping us get there.
And let's teleport back to that time. Remember, after January 6th, President Trump was kicked off of Spotify, he was kicked off of Twitter, he was kicked off of Instagram, he was kicked off of Facebook. I think he was kicked off of Pinterest, like, yeah, Trump is really big into Pinterest. He was kicked off of every social media channel, except he was not kicked off of Rumble. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, you guys became the go-to destination for MAGA rallies when nobody else would carry the MAGA rallies.
Yeah, it was a conference in February, a month after January 6th, and we were the only platform in the world. I actually see this as like one of the greatest honors. You know, it's sad that it is, but it's also one of the greatest honors that I've ever had, is to be the platform that held up the voice of the President of the United States and made sure that it wasn't turned off. To me, that is... That was an essential thing, and it really sucks that I was the only person to do that, but you know, we were there, we held it up, we ended up streaming all of his rallies from 2021 and on, and it was the only platform for many years to have the President of the United States on, Donald Trump. And in addition to that, in the background, we, as the President built Truth Social and got that up and running, we became the hosting provider, the cloud provider for Truth Social as well. So not only are we knew after the Parler situation that any of these big tech companies can turn off the lights at any point in time, but we also provided that infrastructure to the President's company as well. So it was an honor. It was the greatest honor, one of the greatest honors of my life, to be able to do that and be the guy to keep those voices going.
Yeah, and so walk us back further. You started this as a YouTube competitor, and you're Canadian, but now American company. What were you thinking when you first started this business? I mean, that you were going to create a video streaming, video library competitor? I mean, how did you even start?
So my politics when we started Rumble were cats and dogs, no joke. It was a video platform that allowed small creators to upload their viral videos. And the reason why is because I started to see the pendulum swing. All the incumbent platforms were starting to preference large corporations, big brands, and really leave behind your friends and family, aunts and uncles, the small creator. So we put a huge focus on the small creator in 2013, built a great business. By 2020, everything hits the fan. Middle of the summer, I get a call from, at the time, the ranking member of the House Intel Committee, Congressman Devin Nunes, and he asks me a simple question. If I bring my podcast to Rumble and I search for my name, am I going to find it? And I'm like perplexed. Is this like some censorship investigation on me? Like, what is going on? And the reality was, if you typed in Devin Nunes in Google or YouTube, you would get CNN hit piece, New York Times hit piece. You wouldn't even be able to find the content from an actual congressman in California of his own voice. You couldn't find it. So he comes to Rumble. Within 2 to 3 months, he gets like 200,000 to 300,000 subscribers on Rumble. Whereas in the past 4 years on YouTube, with road signs in his district, he couldn't get more than 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. So you can kind of see that what was really happening there. You could call it censorship, shadow banning, something very, very nefarious prior to the 2020 elections was happening on these tech platforms. So from that moment on, we saw something that was, ridiculous, to say the least, but also it was an opportunity, and we built Rumble to be where it was today. By 2021, we had guys like Vice President J.D. Vance and Charlie Kirk invest in Rumble. And by 2022, we went public on the NASDAQ, and today we're worth roughly around we have a $3 billion market cap on the NASDAQ.
It's an incredible success story. And talk about what it's like in the technology ecosystem. Do you still have your lawsuit active against Google?
Yes, we have multiple lawsuits active. We're suing Google for their monopoly in advertising and search and preferencing. There's multiple different things. We've also been suing. We've sued a lot of different organizations in the advertising industry. So in the summer of last year, we went after GARM and a bunch of other corporate advertisers that were basically fixing the market to make sure that they weren't advertising on Rumble. X did the same. Elon did the same on suing. We sued exactly the same day with them against GARM. And then 2 days after we filed our lawsuit, GARM disbanded. It just tells you what is going on. For the last 4 years, these companies have been making sure, it's probably way longer than 4 years, 4 to 5 years in the Rumble world, but this probably extends for a decade now. The corporate advertisers have been boycotting all voices on a specific side of the aisle for a very long time, trying to make sure that really, anybody on the right side of the aisle doesn't get any type of economic advantage or economics out of speaking their truth and speaking what they believe. And it wasn't until late last year that you saw companies like Rumble, well, I think we were a little bit earlier, and then obviously X joined in the fight on fighting this corporate world that has shifted all the ad dollars to one side of the spectrum. And now we're starting to see it change a little. GARM disbands, but it's still not enough. It's still really bad. I don't think, Charlie, you don't have the big top 10 companies advertising on your show yet, right?
Not yet, no.
So we're not there yet, but I'm confident with the new administration and the way that the tide is turning that things are going to change, and we're starting to see signs of that.
So what role does crypto and AI play into your business? Anyone here own crypto? All the young men's hands are going to go up. Is there a single young lady that owns crypto? There you go. 3 of them. Crypto is very masculine and very male. What role does crypto play into Rumble? You guys had a very significant announcement recently.
Yeah, so we announced in late last year the largest crypto company, the largest stablecoin in the world, took a strategic investment in Rumble to the tune of $775 million. And you're probably familiar with it. The company name is Tether, USDT, is the stablecoin. So they took a position in Rumble. We closed that in February of this year, and now Tether is one of the largest shareholders of Rumble. One of the greatest things about Tether is, when you combine and you bring in a really large player into your business, and you have the ethos that Rumble has around free speech and how important that is, we've walked away, I remember when they've tried to cancel some of our creators, these corporate advertisers, we'd end up walking away from them and not letting them advertise on Rumble at all because we just didn't agree with with them boycotting specific creators on our platform. And when you get a huge strategic investment that's going to own a huge part of your company, you want them to be like firmly believing in the mission that you currently have. And when I met these guys, and up until this day, I have never met people that are so pro-freedom and pro-free speech than the Tether guys. In fact, I was like shocked and floored. I'm like, they're talking to me about technologies that there's no way that they could ever cancel any voice if we implement specific technologies around the Rumble platform. That's how deeply integrated and how deeply they care about freedom and free speech. So having them as our backer and as a massive shareholder and launching products like the Rumble wallet here in a couple months is amazing for Rumble, it's amazing for our team, and it's amazing for free speech.
So there's several young entrepreneurs in the audience. What advice would you have for young entrepreneurs? What in your journey, because it's been a long one. You've been a tech CEO for nearly 12 years. What have you learned about entrepreneurship and value creation?
I think my example is a little more unique than the typical entrepreneur. For me, I had to walk through fire. I had to deal with things that I never thought I would have to deal with. I had to deal with hit pieces, smear campaigns, corporate media trying to make you look like somebody you're not. It was brutal. And after going through everything that I went through in the very early goings as it was getting thrown at me, you start to realize like why a bunch of these guys folded. They folded because they had no balls. They couldn't do it. And for Rumble, I think the success comes from being really, really strong. Having a team that really, really believes in something so deeply that nothing can move us. And that's where our success really came from in the entrepreneur side. And I think that's very different than a lot of businesses out there. There's the perseverance on our team to stand up to corporate media, to call out corporate media, to do the opposite of what everybody's saying. And, we went through COVID, we went through the 2020 elections, we went through a lot of different things. We had providers try to cancel us. We had providers actually cancel us. We had to build our own infrastructure. We had to do everything the hardest way possible. And it was really a team that works 24/7, that cares so deeply in what we do. And they persevered through every single situation. And I think like just having the courage and balls to get it done is what took us to where we are.
So I want to get to some of the live questions on the Rumble chat. What is it not? It's not Super Chat.
No, it's the Rumble chat, and there's people that so on Rumble when you have a live stream, you can communicate to the creator, you can donate to the creator, you can subscribe to the creator, you can I see like live streaming moving in a direction that it's the next iteration of cable TV and talk radio. Cable TV is very like one dimension, and you're just kind of watching your creator or the host or whatever. And on Rumble, you now have the ability to actually communicate to the creator. You can donate, you can tip. It's a two-way conversation. The host now talks with you. You're part of the conversation. You can influence the creator. And I see streaming. It's really infant still right now. We're at that stage, like I would say, 5 years, 10 years away from having like network TV really move into the live streaming space in a more prominent way. But I do believe like the generation here is all about that engagement and all about that chat, and much prefers the live streaming model over.
So here's a question
cable.
from the chat, and I'll synthesize it because it's kind of all over the place. Free speech is winning in the last couple of years. Donald Trump ran on free speech, and we voted for free speech in November. But not every country's America. How are you battling for free speech in, for example, continental Europe? Are you banned in Europe?
Oh yeah, they don't like us too much.
What countries are you banned in?
So we were first banned in China. And then this is kind of a
badge of honor.
Yeah. And this is kind of an interesting story. Then the next place to ban us was a place called France. we got a letter from a French minister saying that you need to shut off this creator, and this creator. Not because they violated our policies, but they didn't like what the creator was saying politically. So we said no. It happened to be creators that were, more on, like it was Russia Today, I think, it was pro-Russian creators. And they said, if you don't turn them off, we're gonna turn you off. So we ended up leaving France. And then, ironically, Russia comes to us to ban some creators, and we said the same thing, go pound sand. And then Russia bans us in Russia. And then we're also banned by Brazil, which was a little bit of a longer story.
By the way, we got to get Bolsonaro out of jail. It's terrible how they're treating Bolsonaro. It's absolutely awful, but yeah.
So we were, a couple of years ago, we got a notification saying to ban a bunch of pro-Bolsonaro supporters on the Rumble platform, and we once again said no, based on the principle of free speech. They didn't violate our policy, it's just political. And so we ended up turning off Brazil. Then we get a letter from Brazil saying, you know what, this guy's okay now, you can turn Rumble back on. No joke, this happened like a couple months ago. It was like Friday night. I'm like, wow, we're coming back to Brazil. This is awesome. So we turn on and light up Brazil. By Sunday night, we get another letter with a litany of creators to basically shut off. And not only that, they ask us for all the data in the United States on those creators to pass. So the Supreme Court, I think Justice Alexander de Moraes was requesting all of this US-based data and creators based in the United States. And once again, we're like, no. On top of that, we said, we're going to sue these guys here in the United States because they have no jurisdiction. They can't do this. This is completely illegal. So we sued them here in the United States, and we got the motion that we wanted out of that, and that's still continuing to, we filed an injunction. And Alexander de Moraes ends up calling me a criminal for challenging him in court in the United States. So, it's really bad out there in everywhere in the world right now. There is not a place in the world like United States, and I think that sometimes people forget. What we have here in the United States is not anywhere else in the world at all. The United States...
Amen. So last question here, Chris, and again, I'm going to kind of just summarize it. If, let's just say there was a President AOC, or that should motivate you to fight harder, right? Or a President Gavin Newsom or whatever. What could they do to stop Rumble, stop speech online? And, well, it's not nothing. No, that's not true. The government has a lot of power. Soft power is. So, and what are you doing to insulate and protect Rumble so that you can fortify yourself against a tyrannical government that might take power again in the United States?
Here's the good news. I just dealt with that for the last 4 years. So we're pretty insulated and
pretty cancel-proof.
And pretty ready for that moment. So one is they put pressure on the hosting companies to destroy you by canceling you entirely. They send notices to the hosting companies saying you did X, Y, and Z, and next thing you know, you're shut down like Parler. They can't do that to Rumble. Rumble is, when Google goes down, when Amazon goes down, when X goes down, Rumble's still standing all the time. We saw it a couple months ago. And truth, because they're on our infrastructure. So that's one. Number two, we saw like states, California, New York State, Letitia James ended up trying to put a censorship law in New York State to basically force us to do something with respect to moderation and report that to the New York State, which completely violated the First Amendment. And we sued. We opposed it. And we won it, and I think now it's under appeal. But we have been through this fight for the last 5 years under the last administration. So we are ready for whatever comes. And, at the end of the day, the best part is we have the Constitution of the United States. We have the First Amendment, and that is the most important thing, that Constitution, that every American needs to protect, and every judge needs to protect, and every administration needs to protect, and thankfully we have that.
I want to just say Rumble's our primary sponsor here at the Student Action Summit, helping make this all happen. Give it up for Rumble, and download the Rumble app, everybody. Thank you so much, guys. Talk to you soon. Thank you, Chris. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That was great. That was awesome.